As a fan of Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness, it can be tricky to walk the boundary between being constantly supportive of the franchise and then being skeptical of its current trajectory. In the last year, I have dedicated 2 videos which have analysed any shred of detail regarding Bloodlines 2, and I have often commented a lot on speculation rather than the information we have received from Paradox themselves in any official capacity. Looking back at those 2 videos in question, I do feel a sense of conflict. While some of what I said regarding my thoughts about Bloodlines 2 did come to fruition, others fell flat. During the production of this video, we are still very much in an information cycle of new updates, so some of this may in fact become invalid with the next dev diary or promotional material, but I feel the need to talk about this with all of my current thoughts at this moment. This channel was never intended to be a gaming news channel, and I can hardly say I'm a budding games journalist. I am, at the end of the day, a consumer of nerdy things, and here I talk about my love for a universe that I became enthralled with as a kid, that being the World of Darkness. Yet, despite my love and support for this franchise being strong, there comes a time where you have to be honest about the details right in front of you. At the time of recording this video, we have 6 development diaries, all reveals of the launch clans, and a few videos showcasing certain elements of the narrative and gameplay. Whilst it's great to have all of this, after the amount of time I have personally waited for this game to release any detail about its development, it does make me question what the final product will look like. So in this video, I want to speak more candidly about my opinions. I know a lot of my work on this channel is dramatized, but here I just want to express what I feel about the project at hand, and to analyse the information officially released regarding Bloodlines 2, and some of the footage from its post-alpha state. I do want to make it very clear that this is not a hit piece on the developers or anyone associated with Bloodlines 2. Even though I'm in no way linked to Paradox or the World of Darkness team, or have any communication with official elements of their staff, I am still a fan and consumer of their material, whether it be their games, their streamed shows, or their books. However, I do want to provide some constructive criticism regarding this project, and to air my more critical thoughts on what I've seen so far. And if you happen to enjoy this video, feel free to smash that like button, or even subscribe. I make a lot of World of Darkness focused lore content, and if you enjoy lore videos or just need something to fall asleep to, you can find my latest work in the description below. The first thing I want to cover is the situation surrounding Playable Clans. As of early January 2024, there are 4 Playable Clans. An additional clan will be added as DLC for Bloodlines 2, and another will be added as a standalone DLC. This in of itself really did raise a lot of what you could call troubling prospects. 4 Playable Clans in the base game is 1 less than what was offered in the original lineup from Hardsuit Labs, as expressed by an article by PC Gamer, which I will leave in the description. It's also 3 less than what was offered in the original Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but these are easy points to bring up and lambast the current iteration with. More does not always mean better, but upon further inspection of the clans that you can play with in Bloodlines 2 currently, it does not automatically inspire hope for a creative new take on clans in a VTM game property. The clans available in the base game are the Ventru, Bruja, Tremere, and the Banu Hakim. All bar the Banu Hakim were playable in the first game, and are, from the perspective of a long-time fan of the franchise, fairly standard clans. The Banu Hakim announcement did rock the boat for a moment, with admittedly a more impressive trailer than the other 2, but for me, it did not inspire a great deal of hope that this will offer a greater level of insight into the societal world-building of Vampire the Masquerade, of which I believe is the franchise's strongest asset. What appears the most concerning to me about the release of the clans is how their combat prowess seems to take center stage, as opposed to how they interact with the World of Darkness at large. A feature of the original Bloodlines game I found so appealing was how certain elements of vampire society reacted to the revelations of the clan you were sired into. The original even had strikingly different repercussions for playing notable clans such as the Nosferatu and the Malkavian, offering an additional level of threat for their respective banes of having monstrous appearances or supernatural insanity. This was a fun element which sometimes had small or major ramifications for for each playthrough with the clans, and something I feel may be locked behind a paywall as DLC. Perhaps these additional DLC are being developed to enhance these elements of the game, to make it an even more in-depth experience outside of the base Bloodlines 2. But a part of me feels like these experiences should be part of the full package, instead of being tacked on as an extension. Many within the Bloodlines and VTM fan communities have stressed that this clan lineup is akin to a standard fantasy RPG class system. You have your warrior, mage, assassin, and charisma god all in a neat little package, and that is something which makes me feel at odds with this decision, and what I feel creates contention with how I view Vampire the Masquerade. At the end of the day, VTM, whether in its TTRPG format or Bloodlines, is a game, with mechanics and rules it needs to abide by. But I had always felt the clan system blurred those lines. Clans are so much more than the powers they exhibit. They are distinct entities which you may owe your immortal allegiance to, or battle many lifetimes to rebel against. Being part of a clan is perhaps the most fundamental piece of world building within Vampire the Masquerade, and it can dictate many decisions you make within the setting. Whilst yes, balance and powers are important, yet I feel these are secondary to the real reason you should pick your clan. Whilst yes, some may go fast and others may punch hard, what they stand for and how they are viewed by the societies of the world of darkness is important, and perhaps something I can't clearly envision with the 4 selected clans at launch. This leads me onto my second point of critique, which comes from the narrative stream and dev diary, which discusses the character of Phyre. When I watched the preview live on YouTube, it was evident that there was a conflict in opinion regarding the news of a named protagonist within Bloodlines 2. Whilst a lot of the chat was still coming to terms that they would be called Phyre when the game launched, I felt concerned knowing that the dialogue itself would in turn become limited by the scope of this new direction. For better or for worse, I loved Cyberpunk 2077, and I became a huge fan of the franchise once it became a playable game, so to speak. The narrative design of Cyberpunk centered around a similarly named protagonist who had voice-acted lines of dialogue. However, whilst on the whole I enjoyed 2077, my main critique was that the dialogue and character choices hardly ever reflected a nuanced direction I wanted to take a conversation. Whilst in the original Bloodlines, you were locked down one of 5 paths to a certain ending within the grander scope of the story, the direction you could take a conversation altered wildly due to the sheer amount of dialogue options you had at any given time, enhancing this sense of roleplay. You could meet a certain conclusion with a character by seducing or dominating them through your vampiric powers at many points within an interaction, or even just probe a character for more information or lore, to better understand the world you've been thrust into. Some people may not agree, but I am in the camp of more dialogue is better, especially in a game which is attempting to open your eyes to this new world of monsters and their unique societies. Bloodlines wasn't just about taking you down a railroad to tell you an interesting story, although it did a very good job at doing so. It felt to me as if it was trying to educate you about this immersive universe through the individual perspectives of its NPCs. Through mortals and kindred alike, they each taught you how this world of darkness operates, often in its shady or downright horrific ways. And the current dialogue options, for me, don't seem to reflect an opportunity to do much of this from the promotional material we've seen. It might be cheap of me to say, but the 3 dialogue options within the 2 interactions we were shown during the narrative stream did remind me of the dialogue trees from Fallout 4, and how they often dissuaded me from wanting to interact with NPCs or side content, due to the fact that my role-playing choices were limited to be nice, be mean, or use skill. Whilst this may be down to a more condensed approach to storytelling in the launch of Bloodlines 2, this isn't what I expected of the final product. The voiced protagonist of Phyre themselves, along with the voice in their head Fabian, may be the reason dialogue had to be limited, and the route the developers have chosen to stick with may inhibit the possibility of expanded dialogue going forwards. I don't want to say for certain, as I hope we get more options in the later stages of development, but voice actors cost money, and the decision to have a story which implements a voice player character means that additional dialogue takes both time in the booth and more money in the budget. So this begs the question, why even have a voiced protagonist in the first place? As part of the Chinese Room's initiative to have a new take on the Bloodlines property, I feel they've implemented a good amount of changes to the original direction to create their own vision for the game. As I've said before, I'm not opposed to change, or new ideas at all, but I feel how this has been been communicated to the community has left most asking more questions. The reveal of Phyre and the voice of Fabian inside their head was presented in a manner during the stream which led to many asking whether character customization was available at all, and whether there'll be any way to make the protagonist our own during play. This was, in my opinion, detailed vaguely in the promotional content we've seen so far, and for such a divisive topic to not be addressed sooner feels odd. The original Bloodlines didn't contain any form of character customization, apart from outfits and male and female character models, but for the most part, your character was a blank slate. With a character as experienced as Phyre, being that of an elder vampire, it's easy to jump to the conclusion that this protagonist has a preset look to them, and assumptions like that can make or break a person's desire to play the final game. From cursory glances at all of the clan reveals, concept art, and post-alpha footage of Phyre, the impression given is that there is limited character customization, and this assumption may be completely false. The main issue I have here is that character customization or character presets weren't presented early enough to stop this level of assumption from coming to the fore. This was, and will always be, a very divisive subject for RPG fans, and it's confusing to me that this hasn't been addressed more clearly in frontline promotional material. The kickback received from this narrative stream was disheartening. Many critiqued not only the design of Phyre and the assumptions that came from having a named protagonist, but also lambasted the post-alpha footage shown of the dialogue. This does lead me on to my next point of critique, the selected gameplay showcased. Whilst we received an official trailer in September of 2023, which showcased some pre-rendered animations, the city of Seattle and some combat, the first piece of dialogue many fans saw was from the narrative stream. Initially, when seeing the character of Lou Grand, I thought the model looked impressive, but as the scene played out, I started to agree that the animations looked stiff. At that moment, I started to lose a little bit of faith, and completely disregarded that this was early footage from a post-alpha version of the game. I don't think it was fair of me to make such an assumption of what the game would look like at launch from this footage, but having put my faith into the developers and this eagerly awaited stream, I had set my expectations rather high. Many came away from that stream disappointed, and perhaps some had completely taken the project off of their radars from what was showcased. But I was surprised to see that the dialogue scene showcased initially in that narrative stream was also planted into the Banu Hakim reveal trailer. Initially, I was confused as to why the team would do this, having seen the reactions of fans in the stream. Yet as I looked closer, I realized that the animations had been tweaked. They looked a lot better. The scene flowed in a more natural way. It didn't seem as if the dialogue was going too quick or the animations too stiff. They had improved the scene, and it looked good. Initially, I was happy. They had listened, and they had shown a cool new clan unseen within Bloodlines before, and had presented us with a dialogue scene which appeared tweaked to give a little faith back to the fans. But I couldn't help to shift the feeling that this wasn't caught earlier in the process. I understand that it's both the Chinese room's prerogative and that of Paradox's to maintain hype for this project by letting it be known that gameplay reveals will be nestled into interviews and presentations which discuss the development of Bloodlines 2. But when the footage doesn't look ready, in a project which has already received so much backlash for its delays and multitudes of issues regarding the former developers, it seems a little odd to me that the team wouldn't be a little more protective of what they showcase, to not invite a high level of negativity to seep into the game's current production. At this point, it's already pretty clear that there is a negative vocal party within the Bloodlines 2 supporter base, and this group has been around ever since the drama with Hardsuit Labs. It is known that this is the case, and it confuses me that promotional material has been released that will almost certainly have the ability to attract trending negative criticism. The clan reveals themselves don't seem uniform in nature, and the first two clans revealed have a higher dislike to like ratio, and attracted a lot of negative comments and videos which litter the media landscape and paint a picture for Bloodlines 2 which appears to set it up to fail. The third clan reveal, being that of the Banu Hakim, took a new approach with a longer trailer, and it attracted more positive views, and that was good to see. I was happy that the team decided to divert from the course of their previous reveals, and to produce something that will cater to the fans, and I can only hope that they will continue to do this. For the reveal of the Ventru clan, they only showcased that on their development blog, which appears to me that they did not have a trailer which would meet the expectations of the fans on YouTube, and I am admittedly relieved that they decided to go down this route. if this is the case. There is, as it stands, a lot of negative discourse concerning every major reveal for this project. Whenever I search Bloodlines 2 related content on YouTube, I am met initially with a long list of Bloodlines 2 bad style videos, and from what I've experienced so far with this project, things are constantly shifting and changing to the point that I'm not even sure if the parts of the project I think are bad will even be so in the final project. To finalize my critical thoughts on the game, I am confused. As a fan of the World of Darkness and consumer of VTM related products, I don't know what to expect in the final game. I admire the developer team for their hard work. There are a lot of technical developer blogs which are showcasing their work on Unreal Engine 5, and all of the graphical and technical elements which are being implemented. But for a vast majority of the gaming fanbase, there are only a few things which take priority in terms of reveals. What will the game look like? Who will we play as? And what can we do? Some of these questions are being answered, some have been retroactively improved or changed to appease negative portions of the current audience behind this game. But with every update, I'm left pondering where we're at with Bloodlines 2. At the end of this month, we'll be receiving another trailer and more development material as the year progresses. Things may change, alter, and perhaps this video in of itself will become defunct. However, if anyone from the Chinese Room or Paradox happens to stumble across this video, the only thing I wish to express is that as a fan, I just want to see a clear vision going forwards, and to be shown material that you personally are satisfied with. I do not need a constant stream of new content thrown my way if it means that you must rush or showcase elements of the current production which you feel aren't ready yet. No level of post-alpha footage watermarks or disclaimers will dissuade the most negative elements of this viewer base from voicing and producing content which frames this project as a failure already. From what I've seen so far, Bloodlines 2 is as much of a mystery to me at this point than the iteration dropped by Hardsuit Labs. And for a game which aims to not only reawaken the Bloodlines franchise, but to open up the doors to more World of Darkness fans from the wider gaming fandom, the current trajectory is leaving more questions than answers. For me, I just want to see a clear road ahead. Whether that means releasing smaller pieces of good promotional material at a time, or providing more detailed descriptions of elements within your game that put these negative assumptions to rest, or at least give the community an answer for which expresses your intentions to take the game in a new direction. I don't need more if it's not ready. I certainly don't want to see everyone putting their nails in a coffin of a project which hasn't had the chance to fully showcase what it's all about. But at the moment, this has almost been allowed to happen with the current flow of information regarding hot topics which could make or break people's interpretation of Bloodlines 2. I've seen things from this project that I like. I like the development blogs, which showcase all of the talented people who are working with the UE5 engine and showcasing their technical prowess to create a product which will be stylized and intricate. I love the recaps where the team are just allowed to discuss their passionate thoughts and feelings around the game and what they want to bring to the table, discussing the themes of the story and the ties to the original. I love every piece of art and graphical showcase which is released, showing this neo-noir setting in a way where the devs really want to impress those who happen to stumble upon their lineup of diaries. I love the Banu Hakim trailer and how it showed that you listened and took the negativity and made it into something good. I'm not ready to dig the proverbial grave for Bloodlines 2 in an effort to air my most negative opinions, but I am hoping that going forwards we receive more content inspired by promotional material which had a positive reception, rather than getting another vague and concerning narrative stream. I still believe Bloodlines 2 can succeed. I have faith that with a bit of clarity and a strong sense to learn from what went well with the promotional material so far, we will receive future updates which will attract more eyes on the project and hopefully more positive outlooks. At the moment, the struggle going forwards will be to subvert the negative opinions, to showcase a willingness not to appease, but to impress those that formerly thought poorly of this project, and to show them that there is still blood in this vampire game. Perhaps at the end of this month, an amazing showcase trailer will come out, and I will either be completely satisfied or kicked straight into the curb. But for that, I will just have to wait and see.